G'day, I'm Malcolm Douglas, and I was going to introduce my new series with my dingo sitting quietly beside me, but they're all so full of energy, and they are extremely difficult to train, but they are magic animals, and they're very affectionate, providing they've been raised by humans from a very early age. Never do television shows with kids or pets, they tell me. Now, I'm going to do 5 or 6 stories in the hour. We're going to do a boating story. We're going to do bush cooking, genuine bush cooking. Come here, little one. We're going to do endangered characters. That's the old timers of the bush. We're going to do a 4-wheel drive story. And we're going to do survival stories. Come here, come here, come here. And we're even going to show you around my wildlife wilderness park here in Broome. Now, it's a great series. I really enjoyed making it, and I'm sure you're going to really enjoy watching it. So let's go. Come on. I'm now heading north along the Kimberley coast in my Trailcraft boat. We left Derby yesterday on the way to Montgomery Reef. Now, Montgomery Reef is about 100 nautical miles up King Sound, up towards the top of the Kimberleys. And I wouldn't suggest the average person attempt a trip like this because Montgomery Reef really is a wild and dangerous place. A mate of mine said to me recently, Montgomery Reef is the sort of place that you make one bad mistake and you get killed. Why am I cleaning up the old Magnum? Because I've got a license for it, and the crocodiles up in this part of the world can be pretty bad. If you think boating in the Kimberley is easy, just have a look at this. Spring low tide, saw the beach, brought the boat in, put the boat down 20 minutes too late, and because it's such one of the biggest tides of the year, we've now got to try and get ashore through this mud, and without dropping my swag, and Bundy's actually bogged down here, can't move. Come on, Bud, get out. Come on, you got to get ashore. Come on. Let's see if we can make it. Come on. Oh my gosh, this is going to be very hard. Oh. Come on, Bundy. No, come on, over to the beach. Come on. Here, come on. Come on. That's a good dog, you can make it. Come on. Good back. Go on. Bundy. Go. After a very muddy night, we've motored over right onto the edge of Montgomery Reef. Now, this is an extraordinary reef. If I took the boat right round, it'd take me several hours. It's about 50, 60 kilometres right round it. At low tide, you've got about 6 metres of the reef out of the water, and you've got all these spectacular waterfalls. Now, right out in the middle of the reef, it's totally different. You've got a mangrove habitat. I call it hell on earth. You've got mosquitoes, crocodiles, mud, sharks, rays, and hopefully big barramundi. And as the tide rises, we're going to motor right over there and spend a couple of days right in the middle of those mangroves. Oh my gosh, look, and when the tide's full, these are the sort of fish that come right up into the mangroves. Huge trevally. Oh. Too big to eat, I just get rid of this hook and let him go. We're now right up in the mangroves. And it's really interesting up here because these crocodiles have never been shot at. So they don't have any fear of humans. 40 or 50 years ago when they were hunting crocs on this coast, the shooters never came up onto Montgomery, right up into the mangroves. There's too many mosquitoes and they'd get stuck up here. And if you just look over here on my left, I've got my dog eyeing off this crocodile. Now Bundy, get out of it. Toby, then get back. In all my years dealing with crocodiles, I have never ever seen anything like this. Bundy, get out of it. That was incredible. That croc has absolutely no fear of humans at all. Now, this is very interesting because we always say don't clean your fish near the water, and that's exactly what I'm doing. The tide's dropping, the boat's right out of the water almost, and sun's setting, and we were cleaning our fish here. And that crocodile just came, as you saw, it came straight out of the water and just started eating that fish in front of me. Quite amazing. 15 minutes later, the croc's back again. Only crocodiles in these really remote areas are this quiet. Around midnight, on the high tide, we began looking for crocs. Now that's a whaler shark attacking mullet. This is how I love to see crocodiles in the Kimberleys. These Montgomery crocodiles have absolutely no fear of humans. Now, see them over here? These crocs are the key species in the river system. They're the dominant predators, and they must be protected for all times. Just have a look over here. Now this 3-metre croc has come just a little too close. Never mind. The swag's a bit wet. Well, that was a very long night. We're motoring along here on a high tide, and right up near the mangroves. The tide only stays up here for about an hour, and we got stuck on this sandbar, so we're here until probably 2 or 3 o'clock this afternoon. What happens, the tide takes about 5 hours to come up to here. It's only here for about an hour, and then it runs off. So once the tide changes, it's going to come over this sand flat and bang into the boat and spin us around, and then we'll have time to get in around those mangroves and get down into some deep water. See how quickly the tide's coming in as I kneel down here. The tide's here now. It's passing me in a few seconds. It'll be a couple of metres past me, and I don't believe it. Just have a look over here at this. Look at the speed of this water. Unbelievable. Can't really appreciate this unless you actually hear as quickly as I'm moving, the tide's coming in. Just have a look here. I'll kneel down. Now, I can't go any faster than that now. Already there's a few centimetres of water around me. This is a very dangerous situation because if you get trapped down on these sandbars, there's no way you can get onto high ground or get back to the boat. So I'm going to get out of here before I get trapped. I'm heading back to the boat now. On the first flash of water over the reef, up into the mangroves, brings in schools of big golden trevally, and the fly gear really sets them off. You look out stern there now. I've got one on and you can see a school of them. That's not a bad fish on fly. One of the amazing things about Montgomery Reef at high tide are the incredible numbers of sharks that come up on the reef and into the mangroves. As soon as you start preparing a fish, a little bit of blood in the water, a little bit of scrap, the sharks just come from everywhere. Out the back of the boat now, there's probably 50 or 60 sharks. Now I'm just going to tie a rope on the tail of this golden trevally, drop it in the water here, just watch the action. I don't think I've ever been anywhere Well, I've seen more sharks than on the top of Montgomery Reef. And that's a nice way to finish the trip. In this series, I'm going to demonstrate to you many exciting outback recipes. Now, cooking in the bush is very different to cooking at home, because at home you've got all sorts of fresh ingredients. Out here in the bush you virtually don't have any fresh ingredients. So to cook up a good feed, it's quite an art, it's quite different. Now, the first thing I want to demonstrate to you is the proper way to make a damper. Then we're going to make scones, then we're going to make a really good loaf of bread. So to make a basic damper, all you need is self-raising flour and a pinch of salt and water. You could also use plain flour and your traditional baking powder, but you don't have to use powdered milk or eggs or anything, because quite often you don't have those things. So all we do is just get our self-raising flour here and just a pinch of salt, just a pinch of salt there, and then just knead it up for 3 or 4 minutes and straight into the coals. Before you start kneading up the flour, it's a good idea to put some oil on your hands, and that stops the dough from clagging and sticking on your fingers. Now I just cut this into 3. I'm going to make 3 fairly small dampers. 1, 2, 3. Right, just round them up and they're ready to go into the fire. Get down into these nice hot coals here. Righto. There we are, the first damper straight into the coals. Cover it over. There we are. Second one, I'm going to put into the frying pan. Right here. See that? Just into the frying pan. Just a touch of dry flour on the top and put it straight into the coals there, and just fill the frying pan up with coals. Now the third one, I'm going to cook in the camp oven here, the small camp oven. You notice I've preheated it, so it's nice and warm, and just a little bit of dry flour on that, and I'll drop it straight in to the camp oven. Put the lid on. Righto. Get rid of this. Now, a few coals on the camp oven. I'll give that probably about 30 minutes. One there. First one. Now, this is the one in the frying pan. Just tip him out. There he is. Get him out of the pan. Looking good. And yes, the one in the camp oven, we just pull the lid off. Still be pretty hot, of course. Just get him over here. Righto, I'll just let that one cool down for a second. These ones have been cooked in the coals. Surprise, surprise, there's absolutely no ash or sand on them. That's the one from the coals, that's the one that's been in the frying pan. If I open it up, it's very hot. There we are. And that's your traditional damper. All that is self-raising flour, salt and water. Before we do the scone mix, I'll just make up the bread and get it rising. Right now it's 10 of the plain flour. That's 3, 10. 10 of the flour. Right. It's 4 tablespoons of raw sugar. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Because that's only a dessert spoon, so we go 1 1/4. 4 of the yeast. What I have here is the Easy Bake yeast with the Improver mix in it. It's one of the best. Right, 4 of these. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then just make it up 2, 3, 4. Now, and 3 tablespoons of salt. 1, 2, 3, and again I'm only using a dessert spoon. So we just go. You've got to have your water just warm. That's just about right. So we just get the lids on these, get them out of the way. Now the water goes in here and we mix it up. Mix it up till you've got a really sloppy mix. See how it's sort of just sticking to that spoon? That's pretty good. Now it's fairly windy this morning, so I'm going to cover it over and put it out of the wind in the back of the car for about 45 minutes. That certainly did rise. Plenty of flour out on the table, and get our bread mix out there. That's been standing for an hour. Righto. Righto. Now, I've got to work this for about 10 or 15 minutes, put it away, let it rise. You can knock it down and let it rise 2 or 3 times. The more kneading you give it, and the more times you knock it down, the lighter the bread. All I have to do is knock it down and put it in the camp oven. Four quarters in here. 1, 2. Oh, only just going to get them in. 3. With the Hillbilly camp oven, you just need a few coals on the top there, and I'll come back and I'll check that in about 45 minutes. That's not a bad loaf of bread. Time for a cup of tea. In the far north of Western Australia, on the banks of the Ord River near Kununurra, lives Roy Walker and his wife Barbara. Roy, now in his mid-70s, has lived in the bush all his life. You originally had your first camp down on the river, didn't you? Well, where's that camp?
He's flooded out.
All gone?
Yeah. Flooded the lot out.
And at 72, you've come back up here on the ridge?
Oh, yeah.
And starting again?
Yeah.
And you're building these incredible shelters?
Yeah.
Now what about those stockyards I saw coming in?
Oh, Barbara's doing all that down there, the paddling. She can work. She swings the bar and the saw and everything. She can joggle out and everything.
Now, Barbara's a bit younger than you. Where's she from?
Switzerland.
Switzerland?
Yeah, Zurich.
Zurich.
But she's the toughest woman I've ever seen. Yeah. She's strong and powerful. She'll push the wheelbarrow in here, 8 k's loaded with stores in the wet, swim the creek, put the wheelbarrow on a truck tube, swim across the bloody creek, wheel the wheelbarrow in and then go back and get another load.
I heard the only way you get from here to Kununurra is she goes down this swollen river in a Zodiac, one of those rubber duckies.
Yeah, she goes down in a boat.
Well, one of those rubber duckies?
Yeah, yeah.
All the way down to Kununurra? And you're going to wait here?
Yep.
Will you go with her?
No, I went once, no more, half, and the river was half flowing.
Yeah?
I tell you what, that bloody river, it's got a crown on it.
Yeah.
You're up top and you ought to see where she goes in there. Bloody great whirlpools and...
But she's made it back every time.
Sometimes she come home dark.
You got television here?
No, I don't have them here.
You got a radio here?
Oh, I give it away the other day.
You got no radio,
No,
no
no.
television?
No. I don't want to. You switch on the bloody wireless now. All you hear is murder, war, rape. These bloody politicians and their power and their money, and that's all you hear.
No.
I turn to listen to the bloody birds.
So would I. You even got a
Good.
telephone here now.
Yes, you just got that. Just got that.
Satellite phone.
Yeah,
How long you had that?
a couple of months.
So at 72 you got the phone on. Geez, you don't need anything here, do you?
No, I don't like the bloody telephone.
So you want to set your wife up?
I want to set her up with a home,
Yeah,
and she loves it here.
yeah.
A lot of them love it here.
Yeah.
Wish you could have 4 or 5 wives, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You keep them all happy.
Oh, I can handle them.
Yeah.
Stroke or no stroke. No.
Age is no problem?
No problem. You get worse, mate. Until you get worse. You don't want none of them bloody, what's it called, Niagara tablets. You don't want none of them, mate, I can tell you what.
No?
No, plenty of corned beef.
Viagra?
Yeah, plenty of corned beef you want.
Didn't your wife first see you on European television? And then
Yeah,
come all
well,
the way
I was
to
on
Australia?
Box German, they came here. And the journalist, she was a female. I nearly grabbed her too, thought she was beautiful. Matter of fact, I'm more or less going with her.
Yeah.
But she had to get to Western Australia, but by the time she come to live in Western Australia, I'd married Barbara.
Yeah.
So,
But
That's
Barbara came from Switzerland all the way to Kununurra and tracked you down.
yeah, tracked me down. That's a good-looking bloke, eh?
You are, yeah.
Bloody handsome.
But you were a bit of a scallywag when you were young.
Oh, real naughty boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, naughty boy me.
I heard once that you were on the chain. What was that?
Oh, that was back in Fitzroy. That was back in the 40s.
What do you mean when they say you're on the chain?
Well, they trained us for 7 days under the bow shed.
What,
Me-
round the neck?
Yeah, and on the wrist.
Yeah.
The troopers.
Yeah.
And cohabitating with Aboriginals, that's what it was. The main thing. You weren't allowed to talk to them. Not in town.
Not at all.
No.
No?
They call that cohabitating, and you could get up to 12 months for cohabitating.
Just from talking to an
Yeah,
Aboriginal?
especially if you're caught giving them booze, which we didn't give them booze, but we cohabitated with them.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I slept with a couple of young studs, and they found out. The boy told the trooper come out and collected us. And took us up into the court. Well, we got 7 days on the chain because there was no jail there. It was only where they used to chain the spearers.
Yeah, for
All the
spearing.
cattle spearers, they chained them there.
Aboriginal for spearing cattle.
Yeah, and we were trained with them.
Yeah.
But the daytime you got one on the neck, 8-foot lead.
Yeah.
Nighttime you got one on the wrist and one on your neck, a 4-foot lead. You could lay down with it.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, the bloody mosquitoes.
Bad. Hey. Be
We
a long
laughed,
time.
we laughed the first couple of days. We weren't laughing after 7 days, I can tell you what.
Yeah. You're on the spillway between the main dam and the lower dam.
Yep.
And they used to do whitewater rafting down here one stage, didn't they, when you were here?
Yeah.
Yeah. These were tourist operators from...
Tourist operator in town.
Yeah. But there's a story about him.
Oh, well, he was, as far as I'm concerned, he's a bloody dingo. I wanted him to come in here and have a meeting and discuss about helping me maintain the road, and then he can use it as much as he wanted. He could even bring his people in here.
Yeah.
But no, he wanted the lot. Anyway, I blocked the jump up on the far side with my vehicle.
Yeah, the jump up's a high point on the road.
So he couldn't go past to pick
Yeah.
up his people. The raft went down.
The raft went down early in the morning.
Yeah, and about an hour's time up he come. He jumped out of his car, I blocked him, and I'm up in the rocks. And I asked him what his name was, and he said Ian McGilt. So I put a bullet in alongside him, and he took off. He spun around, he started to get a bit shaky, so I put one in close, he off. He off, flat out. So I picked up my guns and I went down to the raft and I ordered them off the raft, and I blew the raft up. And they off like bloody
You
rabbits.
shot it?
I shot the raft,
What with? Shotgun?
shotgun. I put 3 or 4 in her.
It would have sunk.
She sank like a bloody puff balloon, like a bloody bread going down, like a
Yeah.
balloon.
And all those young backpackers and everything,
They off
off in...
into the scrub like rabbits. They off.
Yeah.
And I knew there'd be strife. Come home and then I appeared in court the following Tuesday, and I got a $300 fine for blowing up the raft and probation.
Still like your horses?
Yeah. I couldn't live without them.
No.
No, they're part of this.
Yeah. Why did you come here and marry Roy?
Because I married him for his good look and his money.
That's
I'm now in the Northern Territory heading for the remote Aboriginal community of Pigeon Hole on the Victoria River. We've got a little bit of a problem here. Early wet season rains a week ago, so now where the track was, we've got this water hole. First thing I have to do is to check how deep it is and to see how firm the bottom is. You never go into a water hole like this without checking how deep it is. Now, if it doesn't go above my knees, the depth is okay, and the bottom has got rocks there, half mud and half gravel. 50-50 chance, so I'll give it a go. Everything's big in the Northern Territory. Just have a look at this giant windmill pumping water for the cattle. The heat's unbearable. And this is a great place to cool off. Oh, that's so good. It's about 9 o'clock in the morning, it's already around about 40 degrees. And by about 3 o'clock this afternoon, it'll be 43, 44, and that's hot.
My little brother.
Hello. How are you? Now, Kevin's a practical teacher, and he's taught the kids to fish for barra with rods and lures. And my bag of lures creates plenty of interest. Those and the RMGs. Yes. So hopefully tomorrow we're going to go out on the river and have a good fish with all the kids. We're now on the mighty Victoria River, and everyone wants a line in the water. Just sit there, you're right, yeah. Hey! With the build up to the wet season, the barramundi are really on the bite. These kids at Pigeon Hole are right into modern technology. They've got the digital camera here, the latest, and they're going to take a photo. You ready, mate? Pretty heavy fish. And then they'll take it back and scan it out at school this afternoon. Yep, good shot. Good. Hey, too heavy? Hey? Oh, he's barrier caught. Hey, look at that. Lift him up here.
Oh. Heavy to you.
Yeah, heavy for me too. Now that's what you call a real feeder barramundi. Kids want to cook them in the paper bark in the ground and then take them back for the rest of the community. Oh, they're very heavy. You grab the other end. Where's my mate?
There.
Hey, you grab it. There. Get it out here. Oh. Yeah, put him down there. Oh. In the old days in the stock camps, they used to make up huge dampers for all the stockmen, and occasionally out here they still do it. And we've brought over to the river today half a 44, and we're going to mix up probably the biggest damper that you kids have seen for a while, eh? Righto, so we're going to put lots of flour on here. Eh? How's that?
Yep.
More?
Yep.
More? Righto. Now, plenty of flour. Just mix it up a little bit. What I'm going to do is put some baking powder in there, some bicarb of soda or baking powder to help it rise a bit. And what do you think if we put some nuts in there?
Nuts.
Eh? I suppose you want some nuts here. Yeah, you eat some of these nuts while we're... Yeah,
Oh.
there we are. You grab some of that. More?
Nuts.
You got enough?
And more.
You want some more? Yeah, a little bit more water in the middle there and put some more fruit in. And I'm... No, give it a big punch him. We'll get him right.
We need more water.
Yeah. Just slide it in. Oh, it's so heavy. There we go. In. There we go. 1, 2, 3. Beautiful. Now just... Oh, we're going to have a good feed tonight. We've put these barramundi we've caught on the hot sand and on the paper bark, and then we're going to cover them over, put the paper bark on top, and then the hot sand. It's a traditional way of cooking fish out here. Only one barramundi is eaten now. The rest will be taken back to the community and shared around. Oh, look at this. Oh, it's hot. Get the drum out of the way. Oh. We still got some honey, or we'll go down by the water where it's a bit cooler and we'll try it.
Because you're saying 12 months ago none of these children could even write their own name.
Well, a lot of them were through bad attendance and the usual things. Now they all come to school. This is the only school where there's 100% attendance. Every kid on the community, you'll go down there now and you won't see one kid on the community. They're all here.
At school.
Yeah.
And then half of them on the computer and printing out stories of what they've done with Malcolm or you the day before.
Yes.
And that's just marvellous.
And they can read, we'll stick them on the wall and they can reread that next week and the week after. They can put it in their files, they can dig it out. So it's a good revision for them all the time.
And they remember it?
And they remember it vividly, of course. Like to about Goldilocks and the Three Bears. I mean, who cares about Goldilocks and the Three Bears?
The monsoonal rains are due any day, so I head back to Broome before I'm stranded for weeks. In this series, we're going to do many stories on survival. Now, survival can be anything from getting a four-wheel drive out of a bog to rubbing sticks together to make fire. Now, the first thing I want to show you with my two Kimberley mates here, tribesmen from the Central Kimberleys, is how to go and select a certain type of timber and rub it together to make a fire. What we're actually looking for is a bottom stick, which in the middle has a soft pith in it. So, and we've got a thin one, so we've got to twist this thin one into the bottom one. And what we've got to do for a start is go down onto the rocks and very carefully straighten this one up. So I think we've got our raw materials, so we'll go and give it a go. I've just got to split this base down the middle here. There we are. Right, just, there we are. Now, I have to make a groove in here to set my stick. Now the secret of this is to get your main fire lighting stick, the one you're going to put between your hands. You've got to get very straight. Scotty here has got one. Scotty, that's perfect. See it there? That's just beautiful. I think that's good enough. All we've got to do now is to just clean it up on the stone here. Right, get it nice and flat. What we're doing is making sure that we've got no shoulder on this. We've got it nice and smooth, So when we put it into our base there, it's going to turn nicely. Now, this is the best ingredients of all for lighting a fire. See this dry kangaroo dung? Collected this on the rocks. So as we're rotating the sticks, we're going to powder that down in the hole, just down here like this. There we go. Righto. Once you start doing this, you have to keep it going, and this is the hard part, is to keep the pressure on and keep rotating it until it starts to smoke. You're going to take over now, Scotty? Oh, Matthew. Yep, your turn. He's coming. That's him. That's him. I'll grab him.
That's him.
I'll get him. That's him. He's moulding nice.
Yeah.
He's coming.
He's coming.
This is always the delicate part, is just to get this little bit of embers here from going out. It's smouldering well in the wind. There we are. We got him. And now I must say that's probably the hardest way in the bush to make fire. Unless you've got a few people, it is very difficult because you just knock up. But if you know what you're doing, you can get a good fire going quickly. Oh, I'm getting burnt. Look out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
There's a plague of grasshoppers, and I'm after a feed. Couldn't miss an opportunity like this. Walking along and saw all these grasshoppers, locust plague. Now, if you are out in the bush and you're feeling very hungry, don't knock these things back as a feed. These are pure protein. I've got a whole handful of them here, see? All we have to do is just get a few coals, drop them on the coals, and it'll be beautiful. Just like roasted almond. Absolutely delicious. Now, if you don't like your grasshoppers in the coals, just a little bit of olive oil in the frying pan. There we are. And just put the bottle down there and take your grasshoppers into the oil for about 30 seconds until they're crisp. And they will be beautiful. Just have a look at this here. Oh,
Can you try these?
good. How often does this happen in the bush? Driving along, next thing the wheel starts to spin in some loose sand. You jump out and you look at it, and your first reaction is to get back in the vehicle and try and drive out of it. So you spin the wheels, the diff housing goes down into the sand, and you've got a serious bog. So you get your jack out. Now, with so many of the modern vehicles, there is nowhere to put a good jack. You can't use your small jack underneath because everything's stuck down in the sand. So what you need is one of these. This is called the jack adapter. You shouldn't go out in the bush without one of these. Wonderful. All it is just a ring, fits on your hub. This little section here fits under the stud there, and pop it on there, and now you've got somewhere to put your jack. Firm base, just jack it up, put your rocks under there, and you're on your way. Okay. G'day, Bun. And this is my best mate. This is Bundy, and she's a terrible show-off as soon as the camera starts rolling. Say hello to everybody. Good dog. Shake on it. Give me a cuddle. Hello, Mallow. This is Bundy's best mate. This is a big red young male And they were brought up together in town when I was bottle feeding this one. Bundy was only a pup. And even though they're about, been apart for nearly 2 years now, whenever I come out here, they love getting together. Look at this. This is quite amazing. Notice neither of them are hurting each other. Bundy's not trying to bite, the Roo's not trying to scratch him. Come on. Bundy, that's probably enough now. See you later, mate. See you later. Bye-bye. I must show you one of my favourite crocs. This is Maniac. I would say that he's the most dangerous crocodile in captivity. Over the other side here, he smashed up double layers of fencing, trying to get at his mate next door. And right here, he'll be watching me now. There's no way that I ever let anyone go into this pen. So we just drop this float in here and I'll show you what he's like. Maniac, come on. Here he comes, here he comes. I'll just give him this float. He's incredibly dangerous. See what I mean? See why we call him Maniac? This is at our new farm out of town. It's not open for tourists yet. Will be in a couple of years. Ah, that's Maniac. Well, I hope you enjoyed the show and I'll see you next time.